What's going on, Shield Brothers and Shield Maidens? This is True for Shield's Rest, and today I want to talk about GM tips from a different perspective. So let's get into it. So today we're going to start a new series that talks about how you can become a better GM by becoming a better leader, okay? Now, I've got 10 plus years of military experience, and in that time, I have seen a lot. I've been in various levels of leadership positions, from being just a basic supervisor to being over a section to even being over several sections at the exact same time. I've seen a lot of things that crop up just from that alone, not even factoring in the 8+ years of GM experience that I have and seeing various problems that occur at the table and in the group chats that the tables have. You know what I mean? So that's what I want to get into today, is how we can look at GM experience and GM tips through a leadership lens. Now let's talk about problems that can crop up at your table, okay? Issues that you can run into, all right? Now, I'm not talking about mechanical issues within the system. I'm not talking about how you can paint a better picture or even how you can call rules and skill checks better. That's not what we're getting after today. We are getting after how you can be a better GM through the leadership lens and deal with these issues that are going to come up. They are absolutely going to happen. May not be now, may not be soon, but it'll eventually happen. And when it does, you need to be ready for it. And the only way you're going to do that is through strong leadership. So some of the issues that you can come across are going to be player specific, because even though they're good friends, that does not mean that they're going to play well together. There could be play styles that just ebb with one another, rub each other the wrong way because of it, okay? Another is going to be when a spouse gets invited to the table to play the game, because why not, right? That can create a whole new dynamic that you're not prepared for. You may think you are, you may think you had a good conversation with them, but you don't know how the other players are going to act, all right? You don't know how that spouse is going to act, okay? You're not even going to be sure when a friend of a friend comes to the table how they're going to be. It can create a lot of issues. Had a player one time get up from the table and leave because they just did not jive well. They did not flow together. They had issues on how they played the game. It was just like, holy crap. But the thing is, that could have been solved and taken care of and mitigated through stronger leadership. I was a weak leader at the time, and when that happened, that was on me, because it was my table, they were my players. I can fix those issues. I should have been able to fix that issue. But at the time, I didn't know how to go about that. I didn't know what to do. Now that I've had that experience, now that I've gotten better as a leader, like extremely better as a leader from what I was, those aren't happening. I haven't had issues at my table in a long time. I haven't had a lot of those inner player conflicts occur at the table in a very long time. And it's because of stronger leadership, because of the way that you approach your players, create the environment, and make sure that you're putting the care and attention into them, okay? The same goes for, funny enough, GM burnout. GM burnout occurs because you are a weak leader. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is not because you didn't prepare. It's not because you didn't world build well enough. It's not because of the issues that are outside of the game table. It's because you are a weak leader, but you can get better, okay? That's the thing. You can get better, and all of a sudden, a lot of these problems go away. And you're going to be able to play these long-formed games for a very long time. Okay, these long campaigns that you want to play and want a GM for and your players want to be a part of, they'll be there because you're a stronger leader. Now, this isn't going to necessarily eliminate all your problems, but what it will do is it will mitigate them to a very low chance that they'll come up, okay? Because you're creating this environment for your players to feel at ease and actually play the game and embody the character that they've worked so hard to create, okay? That is the main focus of these GM tips, is to enhance your players, to bring out the best in them, so that way the game improves. And now you have no excuse for not continuing the game on, regardless of how much you have or have not prepared it, how much you have or have not world build for it, okay? That's the beauty, and that's what we're trying to achieve today. So let's define leadership. Leadership at its baseline means to get somebody to do what you want them to do. Now that's a little too close to manipulation for my taste, and I want to show you why that's not what we're after. Manipulation is to the benefit of you as the manipulator, okay? It's only designed to benefit you, and you're going to be using whatever means possible to get them to do these things to help benefit yourself. That's not the point of leadership. Leadership, on the other hand, is mentoring and guiding somebody into what you want them to do because it benefits them and it benefits the team. That's the other part of this, is it benefits the team, not just the individual and not just yourself through the fact that you're getting them to be able to do this stuff. But that's the main point I want to get across, is that it's designed to help that person and to help the team, so everyone is on the same path together, going towards the same vision. So what does that mean for your table? So as the GM and the leader of this team, you want your players to feel comfortable, safe and secure around each other, and you want to create an environment that enables them to become better players, which will enhance your game tenfold. So the subject of today's video is going to be talking about you as a person, not as a GM, but you as a person, and being able to create a better baseline so that way you can remove yourself out of the equation of a potential problem at the game table, okay? This is one of those first steps on the road to leadership, as you learn really quickly that you can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. It feels counterintuitive, I know, but you have to be a little selfish first and take care of yourself, so that way you are better able to take care of other people. So you can create that environment that we were talking about. So that way your players do feel comfortable, safe, and secure at that table and with each other. So today we're going to be talking about the 4 pillars. Now this is something that the Air Force has been talking about for an age and a half, and quite frankly actually really works. I never gave it much credence when I first heard it, and subsequently the years after, not until about 3 to 4 years ago that I actually started thinking about it more and actually incorporating it into my daily life, because it is spot on, if I do say so myself, because it's something that provides a foundation for you to improve upon from there, okay? Because once you have this baseline set up with these 4 pillars and you've created this balance between the 4 of them, so that way you have this wellness and resiliency kind of built into who you are now, you can then go forward from there, okay? And that's what I like so much about it. Now, caveat to all this, these are my opinions and not the opinions of the Air Force, so I just want that to be understood, that this is not the opinion of the DoD or the Air Force. So the first pillar we want to talk about today is going to be the physical pillar, because it is such an easy one to start in on, and it is the most important one I find, because it affects all the other ones in such a major way, okay? So within this pillar, you're going to have your nutrition, you're going to have your exercise, and then you're going to have some stretching in there, which you could consider exercise, I suppose, but I like to consider it in its own sort of category, okay? So I'm not going to talk about nutrition today because of the fact that it's such a diluted topic, and there's so many videos out there and so many different opinions, and that's just not something I'm going to, try and talk about, because we'd be here for hours, and I don't want to eat up your time like that. Now, as long as you do something every single day to improve your nutrition, that's all that matters. And if you can incorporate one small thing every week, and you just keep that up and find something that is repeatable for you, that to me is what matters most. It's not that you get there, it's that you are doing something at the very least, because that is so much better than doing nothing at all. Same goes for exercise. That's another one that I'm not going to wade into because there's so many videos out there on exercise, but it's important that you actually do it and that you incorporate it into your daily life. And I do mean your daily life. Something that a baseline that you can create for yourself. When I first started out, I made sure that I at least did 20 push-ups every single day, no matter what. Because there were days that I didn't do anything. Especially when I was playing video games in a big way, now that I've gotten away from that a little bit. But I would do nothing all day. And I could have, between load screens, have done a little bit of push-ups. Same goes for between shows. I could have paused it for a brief moment when I went to the restroom or whatever, and then I could have done something. But it took me forever to finally get into incorporating it into my daily life. So I make sure that I do push-ups every day. I make sure I do squats every day. Pull-ups, curls, doing the plank, whatever. I make sure that I get a good amount in my day-to-day life with my exercise. And you should start somewhere, okay? You should start that too. Even if it is only 10 push-ups a day, whatever. Whatever you can do is what matters most. And that you build up slowly but surely. And again, the gains, it's okay for it to take time. It is okay for this to take time. So the last category within the physical pillar is going to be stretching. And stretching is something that nobody thinks about. Not unless you have issues or you've had physical strain in some way, shape, or form that you finally start stretching. But nobody just thinks about, hey, maybe I should do some stretching this morning. You absolutely should, okay? I can't tell you how much that's going to unlock your physicality by doing dynamic stretching in the morning and by doing static stretching at night. Now, you don't have to do it nearly as much as I do. I do about 30 minutes in the morning and then I do about an hour at night. It kind of gets worked into my meditation at night, particularly. And then it's also about what I'm doing while the stretch is happening in the morning. Because me doing that dynamic stretching in the morning gets me dialed in and ready for the day. All of a sudden, I'm overly determined and focused in on what I have to do at work or even on an off day. I do this even on an off day. I get up at 5:30 every single morning without fail. Off day or it's work. I don't care. I'm going to be up at that time because there is so much to do. Dynamic stretching gets me geared in for that day so that way I don't lose my focus, okay? Now, static stretching at night is a great way for me to unwind and do some breathing techniques while I'm stretching and I get this kind of meditation going. So helpful, and it gets me prepared to just go to sleep, you know? No electronics, no music, none of that, just letting myself stretch, and I do about 2 to 3 minutes for each stretch. So an hour's worth of stretching. There's a lot of stretches I do because I'm trying to hit every area possible. And I'm also trying to prevent injury for later. I'm just saying, I'm getting old, you know what I mean? When you get old, you kind of have to do some of these things. So I'm like, you know what? I better start now before it becomes an issue later. But again, as long as you do something, even if you don't do an hour every single night, you don't have to. That is not what I'm trying to tell you to do. But make sure you start somewhere and that you do something. Now, the second pillar is going to be your mental health. Not necessarily strictly what goes on up here necessarily, but it's also how you can affect your mind in a good way. It's not just dealing with issues that you may or may not have. It's primarily priming your mind to be able to deal with those things that happen around you that you can't really control and you need to be better ready for. And the best way to do that is when you don't have a lot that your mind's worried about. And I find that talking to people is actually extremely helpful. I never used to. I felt that I was strong enough, independent enough to be able to handle my issues on my own and I didn't need anybody else. And that's not true. You know, that is inaccurate and should not be a mentality that we have, okay? Talking to people is incredibly helpful. Even if that's just a friend, even if that's just your family, whatever. It doesn't have to be a mental health professional in that aspect. It should be somebody that you trust, though. It should be somebody that you trust and feel that you can get slightly vulnerable with, and you are going to feel better. I can't tell you how much it has helped me get over all my problems. You know what I mean? And things that I didn't even realize were there. And once I started talking about this stuff, more and more started pouring out. And I started realizing how bad things have actually gotten, mentally speaking. And so about a year and a half ago, I started working on all of that. And because of just one conversation, that's all it took was one conversation. And all of a sudden I was doing so much better. And so now I do it on a quarterly basis just to make sure that even when I feel I'm good, I still talk about it, okay? Now, things that you can do when you don't have people to talk to, or at least when you're probably not going to be conversing with somebody every day, and that's probably too much if you were really and honestly going to look at it, like maybe don't talk to somebody every day, but at least work that in at some point in a month, in a quarter, whatever works. Now, writing is a big deal. I have found that writing is incredibly helpful for me, and I do it about every day. Just about every day. I may skip a day or two here and there, but typically I don't go longer than 2 days because I need to make sure that I don't have anything that sits in the back because I just feverishly write. I just write into, like, speed write, trying to get all of it out so that way I stop thinking about what I want to write down and I'm just writing. And so whatever comes up and gets onto that paper, I can see if there's any of those issues that I might want to deal with. especially when now that I'm able to get vulnerable with myself in my writing, I can talk about the problems. And when I started doing this, again, I thought it was dumb. I didn't think it was actually going to work, but I did it anyway. And I held on to those pages. I held on to that notebook. Now, you could probably just burn them if you want to. If you want to throw it away, shred it, whatever you want to do. Does not matter. However, I got to see the progress as I went day to day, week to week, month to month. And I could see how much better my mentality got. The tone in which I talked about the things that were going on, so much better, okay? Now, a few other things to consider when affecting your mentality in that sort of positive way, right? That's going to be meditation, breathing exercises of some kind. Like I do Qigong for breathing exercises, and then I just end the night with a meditation. I do that every day. And now I used to think that was the dumbest thing. Like it was so weird. But now I do it every day, and I love it. Absolutely love it. I sleep extremely well. I don't go into meetings overly nervous. I don't start hyperventilating, when I get into those moments where I have to deal with a ton of people and I'm presenting and I have to communicate to a bunch of people. That is crippling for me. However, ever since I've been doing Qigong and ever since I've been meditating, a lot of that actually went away for me. And if I ever feel that well up, I just do a bit of breathing and then I go right into it and I am good to go, okay? Got to tell you, it's super helpful. But also another thing that you can do is reading. A lot of people forget about reading and how beneficial it actually is for your mind. But I do it on a daily basis as well because I just have to. There's so many books to read. There's so much information that you can glean from that. But also the benefits that you gain from reading on a daily basis is incredible. So I went from reading on a daily basis of 2 pages a day, which I know for a lot of people out there that can read whole books in a day, that is abysmal to read 2 pages. They would never get a book done, right? But again, start somewhere. Be on the road. And that's what I'm talking about, is you got to be on the road to redemption. I now read about 15 pages a day. That's about as much as I can do in my day because there's so much else that I do every single day. So I don't have as much time for reading as I want to, but I still force myself to get it in no matter what. So that way I can not only check that box off, yes, but I always feel so much better when I do. Even though going into it I don't want to because I'm like, I have so much more I can do. But when I just shut up, sit down and do it, all of a sudden I feel better and I feel more at peace with the world, you could say. So the third pillar we're going to talk about today is going to be the social pillar. Now, a lot of this already gets taken care of with your game night because of the fact that you have a sense of belonging, right? You're a part of something. And that's what this pillar is primarily for. But also, I find that I need a one-on-one sort of situation so that way I can get a sense of connectedness with somebody and good quality interactions, That to me is what I value within my social pillar. Now, it may be a little bit different for you, but explore what's going to be best for you from that social aspect where you feel the most connected or the most at peace. However you want to look at that, okay? Which brings us to the last pillar, and that is going to be the spiritual pillar, okay? This one in particular is a little strange to talk about at first, but it is incredibly important, and it is so specific to you, right? Obviously, it's specific to you. But the point of this is to feel centered. Be at peace with the world, Whether you find that through religion or whether you find that through nature or insert whatever thing here, the fact that you at least incorporate it on a weekly basis to a monthly basis is going to be the thing that keeps that balance for you with the rest of the pillars, okay? Now, you may need to spend a little bit of time with yourself to explore what that is, what's going to kind of solve this for you, but again, it's worthwhile. I used to neglect this side pretty heavily until I started hiking on a pretty much weekendly basis, all right? And then I realized just how important it was for me. But that's the 4 pillars. They are there to help you take care of yourself. That is the entire point behind their design, is so that way you take care of yourself in a better, more complete sort of way, okay? With equal balance across if you possibly can. But that way you can better deal with what goes on around you. In this way you can also handle your players a little bit better. You can support them in a more conscious way, okay? Being there for them and being present for the issues that they have and not having to worry about the problems that you have because your problems are on the road to redemption. unlike your players right now that need your support, that need your help. So you can give them that care and attention that they deserve. But that's it for the video, guys. I hope that gets you guys in the right direction if you weren't already in that direction to begin with. So let me know down in the comments if this was helpful for you, if you want me to continue the series on, because I have so many more subjects to cover as far as leadership is concerned, and so many ways to apply it to being a GM, okay? And if you like the video, decimate the like button. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We have so much content for Daggerheart, DC-20. We're getting into Genesis. We're getting into all these other game systems. So make sure you're subscribed so that way you don't miss a single video. All right? But until the next one, y'all, keep that shield wall strong.